During a family cookout, she cracked a joke loud enough for every single person to hear. She said that if we ever get married, I will be lucky if she does not cheat on me. I remained silent. However, when my uncle pulled me to the side later that evening, the advice he gave me changed everything. My family has a standing tradition. Every single year, right on the final weekend of the summer, we hold a gigantic barbecue over at my Uncle Joe's house. It is an event that lasts all day long and includes 3 generations of my relatives. There is always tons of food and a whole lot of loud, happy noise. It is a day centered on our roots and our connection to one another. It is the last place on earth you would expect your life to fall apart. However, that is exactly what happened to me this past Saturday. My name is Mark. I am 34 years old, and I work as a project manager for a commercial construction company. I build things. I build big things, like skyscrapers, hospitals, and university buildings. My job is to take a million chaotic pieces and turn them into a single, solid, functional structure. I bring order to a mess. I thought my relationship with my girlfriend, Emily, was the most solid structure in my life. Emily is 29. We had been together for 2 years, and we had been living in a house I owned for the last year. We were partners. We had a plan. Marriage, children, the whole package. It was a blueprint that I trusted completely. Emily is beautiful, funny, and she is the life of every party. She has a wild streak that I found exciting. It balanced out my more serious and structured nature, or at least, that is what I told myself. My family adored her. They loved her energy and her stories. She fit in seamlessly. Saturday was a perfect late summer day. The barbecue was in full swing. My cousins were tossing a football around. The children were running through the water sprinklers, and the adults were gathered on the deck, laughing and drinking beer. I was standing at the grill flipping burgers, feeling completely content. Emily was holding court with a group of my female cousins and my aunt. They were talking about a recent celebrity wedding, and the conversation drifted toward our own plans. I could hear them from the grill, and I was only half listening. Then, I heard my cousin ask a question. "So, when are you two going to make it official?" And that is when Emily dropped the bomb. She laughed, a loud and theatrical laugh that made a few heads turn our way. "Oh God, I do not know," she said, her voice carrying all the way across the deck. "If we ever get married, he will be lucky if I do not cheat." The laughter on the deck died instantly. The conversation stopped. In the sudden silence, the only sounds were the sizzle of the burgers cooking on the grill and the distant shouts of the children. I did not turn around. I just stood there with the spatula in my hand, staring at the grill marks on a piece of meat. She tried to play it off as a joke. "I am kidding," she said, laughing again, but this time it sounded forced and brittle. Mostly. A few people gave a weak, uncomfortable laugh. The conversation slowly and awkwardly started up again, but the mood was broken. The perfect summer day now had a dark cloud hanging over it. I stayed quiet. I did not look at her. I did not say a single word. I just kept grilling. My movements were calm and methodical. Inside, however, a storm was raging. It was not just the disrespect. It was the public nature of it. She had not just insulted me. She had announced to my entire family that our relationship was a joke to her. She announced that my commitment was something she considered optional. I served the food. I sat with my family. I talked and laughed and pretended that I had not just heard the woman I loved destroy the foundation of our life. Emily kept shooting me little looks, trying to figure out my reaction. I gave her nothing. I was a blank wall. Later that night, as the party was winding down and people were starting to leave, my Uncle Joe pulled me aside. Uncle Joe is my father's older brother. He is a retired police officer, a man who has witnessed the absolute best and the absolute worst that people have to offer. He is not a man of many words, but whenever he does speak, you make sure to listen. He guided me over to the far edge of the yard, away from the tiki torches and the guests who were still hanging around. He looked me right in the eye, and his expression was very serious. I heard exactly what she said, he told me, his voice sounding like a low rumble. I simply nodded my head. "You are a good kid, Mark," he went on. "You are solid. You build things that are meant to last. That woman, however, she is not built the same way. She is all flash and no foundation." He paused for a moment, looking back toward the party where Emily was now laughing with my aunt as if nothing had happened at all. "You are angry," he said. "It was not a question. You want to go home and have it out with her. You want to yell and scream and maybe even break up with her this very night." He was right. That was exactly what I wanted to do. "Do not do that," he said, his voice firm. "That is what she expects you to do. That is the game she wants to play. She wants a big dramatic fight where she can cry and apologize and call it a stupid joke. Then, you will forgive her because you love her, and then she will know she can get away with it. She will know she can disrespect you and the only consequence is a tiny bit of drama." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "A woman who jokes about cheating is not actually joking. She is sending up a trial balloon. She is testing your boundaries. She is telling you exactly who she is. The biggest mistake you can make is not believing her." "So, what do I do?" I asked him. His advice was simple, but it changed everything. "You do nothing," he said. "You go home. You act like everything is perfectly fine. You let her think she got away with it. You let her get comfortable. And while she is comfortable, you get smart. You find out if that trial balloon she sent up is the only one, or if there is a whole fleet of them that you do not know about. Do not get emotional. Get information. People like that do not fear anger. They fear exposure. You want to end it? Fine. But do not end it on her terms. End it on yours. Make sure that when you walk away, she understands exactly what she lost and why she lost it." I looked at my uncle, and I understood completely. He was not telling me to be a wimp. He was telling me to be a strategist. He was giving me a brand new blueprint. The old one, the one with marriage and children, was gone. The new blueprint was for a demolition. A quiet, careful, and complete demolition. I went back to the party, smiled at my girlfriend, and started planning. Update 1. It has been 1 week since the barbecue. It has been 1 week of playing the part of the forgiving boyfriend, and 1 week of methodical, silent investigation. My Uncle Joe's advice has been my guiding principle. Do not get emotional. Get information. On the night of the barbecue, during the drive home, Emily finally tried to address what had happened. "Are you mad at me?" she asked, her voice small and tentative. I glanced over at her. "About what?" "You know, the joke I made. It was stupid. I was just trying to be funny. My sense of humor is a little dark sometimes." I just shrugged my shoulders. "It is fine," I said. "I get it." The relief that washed over her face was palpable. She figured she was in the clear. She assumed my quietness at the party was just me being moody. She had no idea that it was actually me recalculating the entire project. For the next few days, she acted like the perfect girlfriend. She was affectionate, she paid attention to me, and she did not make any more jokes. She thought she had pushed a boundary and that I had accepted it. She was comfortable. But while she was comfortable, I was working. My first step was to understand the size of the problem. Was her comment a one-time stupid mistake, or was it a symptom of a deeper issue? I started with her phone. We had an open policy with our devices. We knew each other's passcodes. It was a foundation of trust that she, as it turned out, did not deserve. I waited until she was asleep and went through it. I was not looking for a smoking gun. I was looking for patterns. I did not find any explicit text messages from other men. She was too smart for that. But I found something more telling. I found a pattern of deletion. Her text threads with certain male friends were suspiciously clean. There were gaps in the conversations and missing days. Her call logs showed calls to these same numbers, but the corresponding texts were gone. A person with nothing to hide does not meticulously scrub their conversations. The most interesting find was a group chat with her 3 best friends. The chat was called the Escape Committee. I scrolled back for months. It was a running commentary on their lives, their relationships, and their plans for the future. And it was a gold mine. They talked about me a lot. They referred to me as the warden or Mr. Stable. They talked about my boring life and my predictable schedule. Emily's posts were the most damning. She complained about feeling trapped. She talked about wanting more excitement. And then I found the conversation from the day before the barbecue. One of her friends had asked if she was really ready to settle down with me. Emily's reply was clear. God, no. But the setup is too good to leave right now. He is a great safety net while I figure out what I really want. And what I really want is not a guy who spends his weekends installing a new sprinkler system. Another friend replied, you have got to be careful. He is not dumb. What if he figures it out? Emily's response made my blood run cold. He will not. He trusts me completely. I could probably cheat on him. And as long as I smiled and told him I loved him, he would believe me. He is just lucky I have not bothered yet. There it was. The joke from the barbecue was not a joke at all. It was a slightly rephrased version of her true feelings. It was a test, just like my Uncle Joe said. She was testing the waters, seeing how much disrespect I would tolerate. I took screenshots of the entire conversation. I saved them to a secure cloud account. That was my information. Now I needed a plan for exposure. The opportunity presented itself 2 days later. Emily came home excited. Her best friend, the one who had asked if she was ready to settle down, was getting engaged. Her fiancé had proposed on a trip to Paris. They were going to have a big fancy engagement party in 3 weeks at a downtown hotel. It is going to be amazing, Emily said, her eyes shining. Everyone is going to be there. We have to get you a new suit. A party. A big fancy party full of her friends and the people she wanted to impress. The stage was perfect. I spent the next week preparing. I continued to play the part of the perfect boyfriend. I helped her pick out a dress for the party. I booked an appointment to get a new suit. I listened to her talk endlessly about the engagement, about Paris, and about the size of her friend's diamond. Meanwhile, I was making my own preparations. I contacted the event planner for the party, a woman my company had worked with on a few corporate events. I told her I wanted to do a special surprise for the newly engaged couple. I wanted to put together a slideshow of pictures of them to be played on the big screens at the party. She thought it was a wonderful idea and gave me the technical specifications for the video file. I spent hours putting the video together. It started innocently enough. There were pictures of the happy couple, and pictures of them with their friends, including Emily. I even included a few pictures of me and Emily smiling, looking like the perfect couple. But the last 30 seconds of the video were different. The final 30 seconds consisted entirely of the screen captures I took from her group messaging app. I programmed the images to slide slowly across the big screen. Her own words popped up in massive, undeniable letters, all while a soft, romantic piano song played in the background. He is a great safety net while I figure out what I really want. He trusts me completely. He is just lucky I have not bothered to cheat yet. The video file was finished. The stage was ready. All I had to do now was wait for the show to begin. Emily thought this party was for her friend. She did not know it was actually going to be her grand finale. Update 2. The evening of the engagement celebration felt like the quiet moments right before a hurricane hits. I did not feel nervous at all. I was completely focused. I had a specific job to do. I had a structure to tear down, and I had the correct tools to get it done. When we got to the hotel ballroom, it looked exactly the way Emily said it would. It was a sea of expensive dresses and custom suits. You could hear the quiet hum of people who really believed they were important. Emily was right in her element. She moved from one group to another, laughing and blowing kisses in the air, dragging me along like I was just a well-behaved accessory. I just smiled, nodded my head, and played my role. I located the event planner and handed her the USB drive that held the video file. "It is all ready to go," I told her. "Just play it right after the father of the bride finishes his toast." She gave me a thumbs-up signal and vanished into the control booth. About 1 hour into the party, the speeches started. The bride's father gave a tearful speech. The groom's best man told a couple of embarrassing stories. Then, the groom stood up and gave a heartfelt tribute to his new fiancée, who was Emily's best friend. As soon as he finished, the lights in the ballroom went down. The voice of the event planner came over the sound system. "And now, we have a special surprise from a dear friend. Here is a look back at some happy memories." The romantic piano music began to play. The slideshow started. I was standing right next to Emily near the back of the room. She squeezed my arm and had a genuine smile on her face. "This is so sweet," she whispered to me. The first few minutes were perfect. Photographs of the happy couple flashed on the 3 giant screens set up around the room. The guests were all smiling, and some were even wiping tears from their eyes. Then, the music got louder, and the final 30 seconds began. The first screenshot appeared on the screen. It showed Emily's words. "He is a great safety net while I figure out what I really want." I felt her hand on my arm go stiff. Her smile froze in place. "What is this?" she hissed. Her voice was a strangled whisper. The next screenshot appeared. "He trusts me completely." A low murmur started to spread across the room as people read the words on the screen. People started turning around. They looked from the screens to Emily, their expressions shifting from happy celebration to confused shock. And then the final screenshot, the one from the barbecue, filled the screens. "He is just lucky I have not bothered to cheat yet." The room went dead silent. The only sound was the soft piano music, which now sounded like a funeral song. The video ended, and the screens went black. The lights came back up. In that brightly lit, silent ballroom, every single eye was fixed on Emily. Her face was a mask of pure, horrified disbelief. Her friends, the members of her escape committee, were staring at her. Their faces were pale with shock and a growing dread. They had been exposed right along with her. I turned to look at her. The beautiful, confident woman I had been with for 2 years was gone. In her place stood a stranger, a person stripped bare of all her lies, standing in the wreckage of her own creation. I leaned in close, keeping my voice to a quiet whisper that only she could hear. "The joke is not funny anymore, is it?" I did not wait for an answer. I took a step back, turned around, and walked out of the ballroom. I did not run. I did not look back. I just walked, keeping my step steady and even, leaving the chaos behind me. As the ballroom doors swung shut, I heard the first sounds of the aftermath. I could hear a woman sobbing and a man yelling. The storm had finally arrived and broken open. My Uncle Joe was waiting for me right there in the lobby of the hotel. I had called him on the telephone earlier that day and told him exactly what I was planning to do. He just nodded his head and said, "I will be there." He stood up as I walked toward him. He did not ask how it went. He just looked at me with a small, proud smile on his face. "Let us go grab a beer," he said. "You look exactly like a man who just got released from a prison cell." And he was right. I was free. Final update. It has now been 6 months since that engagement party took place. The demolition work is finished, and I have spent the time since then clearing out the site and starting to build something new. The final chapter of this story is not about drama or revenge. It is about consequences and the quiet, satisfying process of moving on. The fallout from that night was immediate and absolute. The engagement party ended in total chaos. Emily had a complete mental breakdown. Her friends, the ones in that escape committee group chat, were caught right in the explosion. The bride-to-be, her supposed best friend, was furious that her perfect night had been ruined. I am told that their friendship is over. The social life Emily had was obliterated. The story of what happened spread like a virus through her circle of friends. The evidence was undeniable. She was not the victim. She was the architect of her own humiliation. The friends she had tried so hard to impress saw her for what she really was. They saw a user, a person who viewed relationships as a temporary convenience. They abandoned her. She tried to launch a counterattack, of course. She told people that I was a psycho. She said that I had doctored the screenshots and that I was a controlling monster. However, it did not work. My reputation was solid, and her own words, displayed for everyone to see, were too damning to ignore. She ended up losing her job as well. It turned out that the fiancé of her friend, the groom from the party, was a partner at the marketing firm where she worked. He did not fire her directly. He did not have to. The work environment became so toxic, and so full of whispers and sideways glances, that she was forced to resign. She had to move out of my house, of course. I had already packed up her things. She sent her father to come and get them. I was not there. I left the boxes in the garage. Her father is a man I had always respected, but he could not even look me in the eye when I saw him briefly a few weeks later. The shame was too great. She is now living in a small apartment across town. She is working a low-level job and trying to rebuild her life. She has no friends, no partner, and a reputation that will follow her for a long time. I received a single message from her about 2 months ago. It was a long, rambling email. It was a mix of apologies, accusations, and self-pity. She wrote that the comment at the barbecue was the biggest mistake of her entire life. She wrote that she did not really mean it, and that she was just trying to sound cool and detached. She wrote that Uncle Joe was a cruel old man for giving me the advice he did. That was the line that made me realize she still did not get it. She was still blaming someone else. She was blaming her joke. She was blaming my uncle. She was blaming everyone except the person who is actually responsible, which is herself. I deleted the email without replying. My life is good. It is quiet. It is stable. I have been spending a lot of time with my family, with the people who formed my real foundation. My Uncle Joe and I go fishing every other weekend. We do not talk about what happened, but we do not need to. He just claps me on the back and says, "You did good, kid." The revenge was not the slideshow. It was not the public humiliation. The true revenge was found in the simple act of actually believing what she said. She told me exactly who she was with that joke at the barbecue. My uncle's advice was not about revenge. It was about self-respect. He told me to believe her, and I did. I took her at her word, and I acted accordingly. She thought she was playing a game. She thought it was a game where she could have my stability while keeping her options open. She did not realize that for me, commitment is not a game. It is a structure. It is a promise. And when you prove that your promises are worthless, I do not get angry. I just tear down the building and start over on solid ground. And this new foundation that I am building is stronger than the last one ever was.